Hi everybody and welcome to Let's Look at The Floor is Jelly. I'm just going to begin the game here, because this is an intro I've done a couple of times trying to figure out how to introduce this game. This is a game that's been generating a lot of buzz despite not necessarily being on any major distribution platforms, if that makes sense. It's not on Steam, it is on the Humble Store, it's not on Xbox Live Arcade, not that that's necessarily super major right now with the console. Anyway, this is irrelevant with the console launches though. But it is on the Humble Store and it's $10 on sale for 8 for its opening week, but a lot of people have come out with games on the Humble Store that I haven't really necessarily noticed that much because I primarily focus my attention on Steam. But a lot of people that I really respected were talking about The Floor is Jelly, so I figured, you know, why don't I email the developer? The developer was nice enough to send me a code, and I checked out the game myself for like an hour, and within the first 5 or 10 minutes, I was like, oh, that's why this game's getting attention. It's actually, like, not only gorgeous, as you can see, and you'll be able to hear from the soundtrack, especially once we actually get into a level. The soundtrack provided by Disaster Piece, by the way, of Fez fame, but also he's had, you know, tracks in other games. Sound Dodger Plus is the one that just appeals, or not appeals, but appears in my mind's eye, basically, as I say that. I apologize for disjointed commentary, but I'm trying to focus on actually getting up here. But it's also an extremely fun and an extremely engaging and inventive game in its own right as well. So how does The Floor is Jelly work? It's a platformer. You can basically picture it, and people are going to hate that I describe it this way, but it is a meaningful comparison, I think, to make. It's like Super Meat Boy, but instead of running on, like, brick walls or, you know, sand or ice or, you know, molten lava or something like that, you're running on non-Newtonian fluid. So your platforming changes dramatically as a result of the fact that you're not necessarily on stable ground. I'll do a little bit more of a demonstration as I get, like, right here. So the way that this basically works is that if you just kind of, like, if you don't bounce up and down vertically too much, it doesn't make a huge difference. But if you are going up and down vertically, or you're trying to, like, shoot around a corner or something like that, the fact that you're on this non-Newtonian fluid allows you to achieve things that would not be possible if you were on solid ground. And this actually leads to some meaningful puzzles. This is much more of a puzzle platformer than something like Super Meat Boy is, despite the fact that they occupy sort of a similar space in the environment. So the point at which we're at in the game right now is very, very early on. This is probably like 10 minutes into the game. This is the second time I played through this part because I wanted to make sure that I was actually, you know, physically and mentally capable of doing the things that I need to do. But the way that the structure of the game is set up is that it's a little bit non-linear. So, you know, you saw us take a bunch of, like, phone booths here. We were kind of starting in, like, a hub world, and the way that that works is that we choose which windows we want to fly into. Windows that we've never been into have that kind of, like, yellow circle thing going on around them. And this helps us find places where we've never been before. In these places, we will basically get elements, like this one right here, and by taking these to the exit, these will then fill up doors that will allow us to progress further and further into that kind of subworld. So that's the hook for this world, I guess, and especially that there's a lot of, like, this dangerous kind of stuff around. That's the hook. Notice how the trees also appear, like, as I'm walking around them here. But there are other hooks as well. There's levels where there's an awful lot of water, and obviously water behaves differently than this non-Newtonian fluid. Maybe you go under it a little bit further and come out a little bit higher. And those are the only two big levels that I've seen so far. But it's really, really drawn me in nonetheless. So we're going to try to collect as many of these elemental things here as we can, and then we want to take them back to the surface because as we take them back, they fill up those doors. It's almost got like a Secrets of Radicon kind of approach to it. Again, very obvious positives about this game are audio and visual, and actually it's a little bit unfortunate, not to say that it's bad, but it's a little bit unfortunate that we're in kind of a little bit more atmospheric of a level right now. Even though I enjoy atmospheric music as much as the next guy, there are some really sweet tracks that appear on this, and I hate myself for the phrasing that I use there, but Disaster Piece has outdone himself and really helped create an atmosphere that, along with the visuals, creates a very, very unique experience. Now, hopefully we will see some kind of stuff that is unique to the non-Newtonian fluid aspect of this game. I don't know if it's actually non-Newtonian fluid, by the way, but that's how I'm going to describe it nonetheless. Because as of right now, you might be thinking, oh, it just looks like your standard, like, wall-jumping, Super Meat Boy style platformer. There's no denying, of course, that there is a subgenre of platforming games that kind of are like Super Meat Boy with a twist. Not that Super Meat Boy, of course, was necessarily the first one, but there have been games, it's like, he's Super Meat Boy, but he can stop time, or like, he's Super Meat Boy, but he can do a double jump, or something like that. This is much more than that. Whether or not it's directly inspired by Super Meat Boy, I don't know. It's just a very meaningful comparison to make because they play kind of similarly. But this one is substantially more puzzly, and in Super Meat Boy, there were very rarely situations where you had to, like, really think about how to solve a puzzle, if that makes sense. Usually it's just like, you see the exit, get to the exit, you win. Whereas in this, and I'm not saying one game is better than the other game, Whereas in this, it's much more of it's a thinking man's game, even if the puzzles, as of right now, seem a little bit easy. There are some that become much more difficult, and I have had a little bit of a head-scratcher type situation occur, even within my first hour. Not to say that this is necessarily a puzzle game. Is this where I want to be? I don't think this is where I want to be. Not to say that this is necessarily a puzzle game, at least, you know, a true puzzle game, but there are puzzles in it. It's a puzzle platformer. Different than a physics-based one, but a puzzle platformer nonetheless. Let's take our... Oh, did I die there? Really? I did not expect that. Let's take our stuff back to the front here. Maybe I... Oh, okay. Sorry. I forgot that I had to actually go through this window. I will say that one of my complaints about the game is that navigation can sometimes be a little bit tricky. I find myself getting lost now and then, and I find myself kind of wondering where I am in relation to the hub world, and if I need to go back, and if I've already been here. The outlines around the windows occasionally do a pretty good job of making that more clear, but sometimes it can still be a little bit obtuse for my taste. Let's check out the other window over here. It's much more of a Zen-like experience as well. I mean, obviously, Super Meat Boy has a reputation for being a very difficult game, and sometimes a very frustrating game as well, whereas the floor is jelly. I'm so tempted to say the floor is lava, which is obviously, you know, in reference to, but it's a hard thing to get out of your muscle memory, especially since, you know, it would be doubly bad because people always make fun of the way that I say, I almost did it, always make fun of the way that I say lava. Is it lava? I used to say lava, and then people made fun of me. I'm just gonna call it hot rocks from now on. That's what you guys have done. You take everything good and innocent in the world, and you standardize it. Okay, stop just throwing yourself to its death. Let's make our way through here, and we should be good. Yeah, okay, so I forgot what I was talking about earlier, but it was, I think, the navigation being a little bit of a sore spot. Yeah, that's not necessarily, false, I think. I have had some trouble navigating, but that being said... Oh, we've already gotten this one. That being said, it seems much less rigorous, or like rigorously designed to force you to navigate properly, if that makes sense. So, I don't actually know if there are more than enough of those, like, comet trails that I need to get, in order to succeed, but it seems like I could either get, like, 6 comet trails from the left side of that kind of gated area over there, or... Oh, this is gonna be an interesting one. Or I could get, like, 3 from one side and 3 from the other side, which is what I'm doing right now. Maybe, maybe not. That's just my 2 cents on it. Those comet trails also kind of serve as a checkpoint as well, which is important. Now, one thing I did want to talk about, a very positive thing, is controls, and you know, this is something that's obviously very important in a game like this, where fidelity and being able to easily do, or at least, you know, within reason, easily do what you want to do, is extremely integral to the whole enjoyment of the experience. The controls are good. I've been using keyboard and space bars. It's not keyboard and mouse, really, but I've been using my keyboard to navigate, and unlike a game, say, like Super Meat Boy, it actually works totally fine. I know a lot of people hate that I say that Super Meat Boy you can't really control well with the keyboard and mouse, and they control it well with the keyboard and mouse. Well, you know, congratulations and good for you. I disagree, but that's okay too. If you're like a speedrunner or something like that, feel free to prove me wrong. So we've kind of completed this side. I'm going to see if I can find the water world, and we'll check that out. And it's something that's interesting for me to say, because, like, sincerely, I play 99% of the games I play on PC, unless they're first-person shooters, with the controller. And the reason I do this is I just find it more comfortable. And specifically, platformers are one of the genres that I feel like most benefit from good controller support. I've been using the keyboard for this, and it's been working out absolutely fine for me, and I've never even noticed until I thought about things to talk about in this video. And I was like, I'm not using a keyboard for this. I'm using my keyboard, or sorry, I'm not using a controller for this. I'm using my keyboard, and it works totally fine. So, yeah, even if you watch my videos and you're like, why is this guy always talking about using his Xbox 360 controller? This is maybe a little bit more up your alley. So we're gonna check out this water world up here. I think this is where we're going, unless I have made a terrible mistake. Oh, it is, okay. I do have some caveats to offer. The first thing I'm going to say, though, is positive. Look at how different this world looks relative to the world that we were just in. It's beautiful. It's a very beautiful-looking game. And that's why I was amazed to find out that not only... Oh, come on, we can get out of here. Not only is this not on Steam, it's not even on Greenlight, and that seems to be due to, like, personal choices from the developer. But sincerely, this looks so much better than a lot of the shit on Greenlight, and... I hope that maybe, it seemed like he was like, well, I put it on Greenlight. I read like a blog post from him, but it was from ages ago. He's like, I put it on Greenlight, but there's all these games that are better than mine that didn't even make it through Greenlight yet. So I would feel bad about it, or like I wouldn't expect that the floor is jelly, or sorry, the floor is jelly, would actually make it through that process. Now a lot of the games that he's listed have actually made it through, so he might still be sticking to his guns, but if you would vote for this on Steam Greenlight, you might want to hit him up on Twitter and be like, dude, this game should be on Steam, and like sincerely, it probably really should. You know, not that it necessarily means that the game is gonna suffer as a result of not being on Steam, but if that's something that he wanted, I think that just through like screenshots alone, he would have a pretty good opportunity to run a solid campaign, but don't quote me on that. I'm running out of things to talk about with respect to the game because it's just good. Like, it's really, really good. It's really, really fun. Like, right now, if I was to narrate what I'm doing, I would be like, hey, I'm using the really inventive kind of fluid mechanics of the game to accomplish things that would not normally be possible in a platformer. That's really cool, but it's the kind of thing that I can't talk about for, you know, 100 lines ad nauseum. This is almost more of like less of a let's look at, although certainly, yes, buy the game if you're interested in what you're seeing, but almost more of like a spotlight where I'm like, this game exists and you should totally go check it out. It's less of like, you've heard of this game, here's some thoughts, positive and negative, and much more of like, you probably never heard of this game, but you should have because it's awesome. Anyway, I have to, if you're wondering what's going on with this puzzle, I should have narrated why I was losing it. I should have been talking about a lot of the puzzles that I've been doing for a long time, but I can't quite get enough depth in order to get around this creep that will basically kill me. So I think I have to get a high jump and then come under it, and there we go. Okay, so I almost shot myself a little bit too far there, but we are going to make it out. And I guess the other thing that I wanted to bring up is that even though, yes, this is an absolutely gorgeous game from a visual standpoint, the gameplay is no slouch either. This is not just a pretty face. Oh, there we go. Now I think we've got to get even higher on this one. So let's, okay, that's a bad place to jump. This is an okay place to jump. This is fine. So we'll come up through here, and then there we go. Oh, no, I botched it. Okay, let's try it again. See, like, this is a really cool puzzle. The movement is just really satisfying as well. I'm gushing about the game, which is funny because, you know, fluids, but also, sincerely, it's way, way better than it has any right to be and not be available to a wider audience. I mean, you can buy whatever you want on Humble, obviously, but it has a little bit of a reputation, perhaps for being less of an impulse purchase festival than something like Steam does. On Steam, people will see like something new has come out and just be like, I'll buy that. You know, that looks all right. I'll pay 15 bucks for that. I feel like people right now, and Humble's been doing a very good job of reversing this, but reversing this opinion anyway, but I feel like right now people treat Humble like, if a bundle's on, cool. If something's on sale, I'll go out of my way to buy it on Humble, but if it's the same price, I'll buy it on Steam. Or if like it's something I've never heard of, I'm more likely to buy it on Steam. Anyway, this video was not meant, and it's kind of unfair to make this like a whole Steam versus Humble versus, you know, Desura versus GOG type thing. Just kind of came up naturally, so I guess I apologize for that. This seems like an exceptionally difficult jump. It looks like there's probably an easier way to do this. That was a bad way to do it. So we want to, oh yes, okay, I see we got to like VVV ourselves up here. Of course I realize there are 6 Vs. Don't get on my case, internet, it's alright. Okay, so we go up, and up. Okay, so my like controls are sort of reversed right now because I'm upside down. There we go. Gotta make it up through here, and there we go. And when we come out, I'm gonna jump over the top, and then I gotta go high. I don't know if this is gonna be high enough, but I hope it is. I'm gonna go high, higher than that. There we go. And then we're gonna fall down, and then we're gonna okay. Occasionally, and this is something that is coming up again naturally. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. It's coming up naturally right now. Occasionally, some of the checkpoints do seem a little bit few and far between, and on this level there might not be any checkpoints at all, which only sucks in this situation where I find myself, you know, having to accomplish many intermediary steps in order to get to where I want to be. That one was really cool, though. That felt really satisfying. What do we got going on here? There are other levels, by the way. I guess I'll talk about the other, you know, quote-unquote gimmicks or mechanics that I've seen throughout the levels in the game. One of them... Ooh, can't quite make that one. One of them was a level... I wonder if I could shoot myself, like, off the fluid at the top here, and then come back down and up, and... Oh, that was so close. Okay, maybe we have to go this way instead. It looks exactly the same. One of the levels had, like, things that let me rotate the actual... Oh, let me see if I can do this. Rotate the actual level in question. So if maybe there was like situations where gravity made it impossible for me to do something, but if you rotated the level 90 degrees, then it actually becomes possible. So I did play that level, and that was a good time. But I'm really liking this water level, actually. I wonder if I can actually sneak by these guys on this side. And this game, you know, it does a great job of inspiring wonder, if that makes sense. Like, as I'm playing it, I'm like, there's so many, like, unique strategies that I want to try because, you know, the mechanic system in the game is so unusual. So I think I can actually do, like, a big jump. One bigger. Oh, bigger. Oh, that was awful. Okay, try this again. Bounce on the, when it pushes you back up. Oh, that's not gonna work. It might work eventually, but it didn't work there. So we're gonna fall down, and then maybe we want to do like a hoop. That didn't really work either. Okay, let's try this again. Up and around. Okay, then you come down through here, and I want to get under that thing, but I don't think it's actually possible for me to get under it. I think I can. The best I can do is like attach to the side of it. So let's try it again. Wait for the jelly to cool down here. We'll bounce up. Oh, and we'll bounce up, and we'll bounce up. It's like getting momentum when you're on a swing set as a kid. There might be a better way to do it. Maybe I could actually swing myself around on that right side, because this appears to be... Oh, no, it worked. Okay, never mind. I was totally on the right track. I was just... It's a game that strikes a good balance of, like, difficulty in concept and difficulty in execution. Some of the puzzles are much more difficult to conceive of how to finish them than to actually finish them. And some of them are much more difficult to actually finish than they are to conceive, if that makes sense. So, we'll bounce up here, get a big boost coming underwater, and where is our exit is an important question that I am asking myself now. Once you really get the feel down, by the way, for like how you're supposed to do things, it feels really nice to just oh no. It feels really nice to just naturally like know what you're supposed to do. And when you start navigating without thinking about it and like manipulating the jelly without thinking about it, it is really cool. So there's another phone booth for us. So let's get inside of that. And we'll hit the button to go downwards. So, I think that's going to do it for Let's Look at the Floor is Jelly. It might be a little bit of a shorter one, and I apologize for that. But it's a really cool game. Link to the Humble Store in the video description below. There's no Greenlight for it. Unfortunately, I think this would be awesome on Greenlight, and it would be awesome on Steam, and I hope that it would make it. But I don't want to tell the developer what to do. It was already generous enough to send me a code. It's $8 for its opening week sale, and then eventually it's going to be $10 on Humble. Totally worth it. I don't know how much the length is. That's the caveat. I don't know how long the game actually is if you're the kind of person that's concerned about this. But from an AV standpoint and having my wonder bone tickled, which is also a phrase that I hope no one will ever repeat in their entire lives, definitely a big thumbs up to The Floor is Jelly. If you enjoyed the video and you want to check out the game, make sure to check out the link in the video description below to check it out on the Humble Store. And of course, it would be awesome if you would like the video if you actually enjoyed it. It helps out a great deal. And of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.